she whispered. I can cook. I can clean. I can be quiet. He let her in, and she changed everything. The first knock was too soft to hear over the wind. The second came with a whisper, almost swallowed by the storm outside. Ethan Rourke adjusted the strap on his tool belt and sighed, staring at the rust-stained steel door of his cabin on New Eos. A dust storm was raging, amber grit battering his outer wall like hail, and he wasn't expecting visitors. Not on this half-dead world. Not this deep in the wastes. Then came the third knock. Firmer. Desperate. He hesitated. A trap? Raiders? Off-world pirates looking to loot his oxygen reserves? He reached for the plasma wrench on the side table. But when he opened the door, what stood there wasn't a threat. It was a girl. Alien. Humanoid. Barefoot. Drenched in mud and dust. She stood maybe 5 feet tall, thin and trembling under the weight of an oversized thermal cloak that looked like it belonged to a mining crew, probably scavenged. Her eyes were huge and almost liquid in the low cabin light, a soft shade of violet that flicked quickly over him, the inside of the room, and then back to her boots. Before he could say a word, she whispered through cracked lips, I can cook. I can clean. I can be quiet. Then she looked up. Please. Just let me stay. I won't make trouble. Ethan didn't ask for her name right away. He brought her inside, closed the reinforced hatch behind them, and reset the seal. Outside, the wind howled, coating the window in red grit. Inside, the silence was heavy. She huddled by the heater like a stray animal, barely breathing, until he tossed her a dry towel. You're not from around here, he finally said. No, she answered, voice hushed. They left me. I ran, then walked. Ethan didn't pry. He knew what it meant when someone said they in that tone. On New Eos, it could mean traffickers, exiled nobles, slavers from the Zenthri sectors. Maybe even the Syndicate. Instead, he handed her a cup of hot water. No tea. Just warmth. I'm Ethan. She blinked at him. Sarah. All right, Sarah, he said slowly. You can stay the night. Just one. We'll figure the rest out after. She nodded, the towel clutched tight to her chest. He half expected her to bolt in the night, but she didn't. By morning, the storm had buried the solar panels in a thick layer of sediment. Ethan woke early, dressed in layered fiber weave, and grabbed his tools. Sarah was already in the small kitchen alcove. She was barefoot again, standing silently over a pot. Somehow, she'd found the dried herbs, a bit of broth cube, and water. The smell wasn't much, but it was something. She turned when she heard him, then looked away quickly. I found the emergency food storage, she said. I can ration it. Stretch it. He blinked. That's military rations. I know. I read the labels. He frowned. You know standard? She gave a single, sharp nod. And 4 dialects of trade speak. That was unusual. He went outside to clean the panels, and when he came back, the tiny cabin actually smelled like food. Over the next few days, she stayed. She didn't speak unless spoken to. She didn't ask questions. But she did clean every surface of the cabin, even areas Ethan had long since forgotten about. She scrubbed the rust from the wall joints. She rewired 2 faulty stabilizers in the heat exchange system. She even fixed a cracked hinge on the backwater recycler. You were engineered, weren't you? He asked one evening. Sarah paused. Her hand hovered over a datapad where she'd been sorting a storage inventory. I was bred, she said softly, but not made. Escapee. She nodded once, not meeting his eyes. That was all he needed to know. 2 weeks passed. The storm didn't lift. If anything, the waste grew crueler. Ethan found himself growing used to her presence. They rarely spoke more than a few words at a time, but she was there, a steady rhythm in the silence of his life. The cabin felt less like a tomb, more like a home. It was unsettling and comforting. He had lived alone for 3 years after defecting from the Interstellar Corps. He'd chosen solitude. Now he was folding an extra blanket because she felt cold at night. And when he had to head into the Badlands to retrieve a malfunctioning drone, Sarah had insisted on going with him. "I know machines," she'd said, almost defiantly. And she did. She'd fixed the drone's guidance system with a flick of her wrist and a twist of old copper wire. Her fingers were precise. Efficient. "Whoever trained you," Ethan muttered, "didn't just want a servant." Sarah had only smiled, the faintest hint of sadness in it. One night, a transmission came through. Encrypted. Private channel. Old core signature. Ethan stared at the screen. It pulsed with 2 words. "They're coming." He knew what it meant. Somebody had found out where he was hiding. And they were coming for him. Sarah was silent when he told her. She stood by the window, her silhouette faint in the low light, long cloak wrapped around her like armor. "You helped me," she said finally. "Now I'll help you." He shook his head. "No. You stay hidden. They'll scan for weapons tech, anything that moves." She looked at him then. Truly looked. "They'll scan for you, Ethan Rourke. X-Corps. Engineer. Renegade." He frowned. "You memorized my file?" "I read it," she said quietly, "while I cleaned. You keep everything in poorly encrypted logs." A beat passed. He laughed despite himself. "You're dangerous." "I was designed to be," she said. Then, after a pause, "But you taught me I can be something else, too." When the dropship landed, it kicked up a vortex of red sand. Ethan stood in front of the cabin, arms raised. 4 troopers approached in sleek black armor, rifles humming. A tall man with cybernetic eyes stepped forward. "Rourke, you're a hard man to find." "Not really. You just stopped looking." The man smirked. "You're wanted on 5 colonies. Selling intel. Breach of allegiance. Harboring syndicate property." Ethan's jaw tightened. "There's no property here." "Really?" The man turned to the troops. "Scan the house." They moved toward the cabin. Sarah appeared at the doorway. She was barefoot again, covered in ash and oil, harmless in appearance, except for the pulse weapon she held in her small hands. One soldier moved to raise a weapon. She spoke, calm and unwavering. "I can cook. I can clean. I can be quiet." Then her tone shifted. "But I can also kill." The plasma blast she unleashed tore through the first 2 soldiers like paper. Ethan ducked behind the boulder as chaos erupted. The leader screamed orders. Sarah moved like smoke and fire, evasive, lethal, inhumanly fast. When the dust cleared, 3 soldiers were down. The 4th fled. The leader groaned on the ground, hand pressed to a smoldering wound. Sarah stood over him. "You came for him," she said. "You leave without him." Ethan stepped forward, placing a hand on her shoulder. Her hands were trembling. "It's over," he said. But it wasn't. They spent the night packing. The cabin was no longer safe. Corps would send more. But now they had each other, and that changed everything. As dawn broke across the crimson dunes, Sarah stood beside him atop the ridge. Her cloak fluttered in the wind. He handed her a new datapad. "What's this?" "Coordinates," Ethan said. "Safe place. Off-grid. Old core haven I never told anyone about." She tilted her head. "You trust me." "I think I always did," he said. "I just didn't know why." She nodded slowly.